Hey everybody, David R. Becker here, and it's Sunday morning with David. So we're going to do a little bit something different today. We're going to do a little dancer, and I still haven't figured out my camera here in the front. It's for some reason because I put this black velvet behind me, I can't get it to be that perfect. So I'm gonna have to either buy a new camera or just try to figure this out, or not have black behind me. Anyways, let's go to our tabletop and just get started. Good morning, guys. Cheers, by the way. Here you go, my cup of coffee. And so this is a kind of a fun entertainer, dancer, and I found this image, and I kind of messed around with it in Photoshop just to kind of make things a little bit different. I'm gonna see how it's good. Morning, Pat, Mary, Beth, and Pamela. And so what we're gonna do is we are gonna kind of make it kind of a wild. I want it more moving, like it's a dancer who's moving, and also just I know the dress is kind of weird, but I made not do exactly that, but then orange and black for Halloween. So we'll see what happens. Just a little practicing. I want to just try, and also I'm working on a board, so it's I didn't tape it down. It's a board. And so let's see how that works. And it's going to be, board is actually kind of good for wiping out. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start out with the lights like I always do. And so basically we are going to basically work, the lightest part is on her face. And so right up here, I'm going to leave that light, but I can go through everything like the hair. And I actually, a little bit of the, usually what I do is lights first, right? With the BeckerArt 3-step, we do the lights first, and that determines the color scheme. Well, this time we're going to have to go from light to dark because there's not much of a background. The background's actually darker and lighter than the foreground. So, and she is basically dark, and so we'll put her in for dark details, right? And so that'd be like last. And so we're just going to wet the background. And since it's a board, it's not absorbing as much, so it will be a lot to do with this first wash and stuff. So I'm going to wet everything. And have fun with it. I may even use a stencil at the end. I'll go through her hair, but I'm not going to go around where the light part of her face is because she's got shininess on her face, and so we're just not going to wet that. Her dress is darker, and so we'll just go right into her dress. Go into her neck. I'm just going to kind of go around her face. And actually it's going to be darker, but like her nose, on top of her nose there is lighter. So I'm just going to go around a little bit, and I'm pre-wetting so I get a nice, beautiful wash going. And you know, orange and violet are my favorite colors, and this is very orangey, though it was more yellow, and I didn't want to make it that yellow. So I changed that in Photoshop. I messed around in Photoshop a little bit, made it look like almost like fire in the background, but not really. But we'll just see what's going to turn out. And like I said, I may use a stencil at the end to see how that works. Just testing. I usually like on Sunday morning test things for the rest of the week, and I've got a lot of paintings to do. I'm working for a gallery in Dallas, and I'm working for a rep in Chicago, and so I've got tons of work to do for painting wise. And so this is just exercise and practice. You always got to practice, and if it turns out, it turns out. If it doesn't, that's okay. You know, that's what practice is. You know, when you're doing commissions and stuff, that's one time when you shouldn't be practicing. You should be just going and doing your good job. But when you're practicing like this, just try things. Try things. When you're in class, try things. So I'm just gonna kind of go in here and put in some fun colors. I'm just gonna see if I can do a neat kind of wash. Somehow I want to do some kind of neat wash, you know, where it's gonna be kind of cool. You know, what can I do to make it a neat, interesting wash, other than making beautiful granulation happening, and what else can I put in there? Morning, everybody. Morning, Maria. All right, so here now, and like I said, I'm going to put in some of the darks in there right away too. So right now we're going with the orange, red, orange, yellow. And we'll get some really dark darks up here, and I'll go with like purple, because you know me and purple. I'm gonna go with a little bit purple up here. Now I didn't put tape around this because it's a board, and I can just, this is 11 by 14, so I can put it right into a frame. You know, I don't have to worry anymore about, you know, customizing the paper to fit the, you know, fit the frame. Or this is a standard size board. I cut it to standard size sizes. And a board, this is a little bit, it doesn't absorb as much, but it's kind of good for getting texture. You know, if I want to get texture, it's a really good way of getting texture in your work. I can throw salt on it, works really well. Let's make it a little bit darker. And I don't mind getting some really, really dark, dark black in here, because that's what it is anyways. It's a really, really dark, dark up here. So why not use just, if you want a really dark dark, I suggest like a Prussian blue and a black together. You know, let's put some of that in there right now. And I know I should be doing my lights right now, but because it's the background and because I want soft edges, I'm just going to put some of the dark in there now. It's just one of those things. You can do that, you know, when you're working a big wash. I'm still working my, you know, it's almost like 1, 2, and 3 all together at one time. You know, that's kind of fun, you know, doing that all together. And actually, I'm going to put a little bit of warm color in her face right away. Might as well. Just stay away from the whites that you have to leave there. You can actually put it in later, but I kind of like to stay away from that and just put some of the light colors of her flesh tone in here. You know, that way I have no hard edges right now, and I just want to kind of go in there, and it's all soft edges, it's all wet. I can spray it with my sprayer to keep it wet a little bit. Let's see, put a little bit more on there so it stays a little bit wetter for a little bit longer. And again, ask questions if you need to know something, or if you see something I'm doing wrong, definitely tell me. And let's get some bright colors in here. Let's get some really bright reds. Scarlet Lake is what I'm using here for my red. You know, do I spatter in here? Do I make that? Because it's like, I want movement in here too. Take some orange and spatter some lights into the darks. This is going to be part of my entertainment series that I'm trying to do, a bunch of just entertainers, dancers, musicians. I'm just trying to do a bunch of different entertainers. It's always fun. They're also in the arts, right? And so it's kind of fun to do them. Let's get a little bit of pink in here, bright orange. Go right into her. Just keep on going down. A nice thing about this board is I learned from Bert Silverman, used to use Bristol board. This is kind of like Bristol board, where it's really slick and you can rub out really easily. That's a really nice thing to do, being able to rub out too. So let's make the light part of the dress kind of fun right now too. You know, just get in there, have fun with it. Since we're using orange, a lot of orange, blue is its complement, so let's get some light blue in here. Let's tap some light blue in there. It's a complement, so why not? You know, as you see, get some turquoise would be really good, even though I don't have turquoise right here at the moment. I can make some with a little bit of this light blue. Oh yeah, look at that. I want some movement. I want to get some movement in here. And what more fun way of painting and getting, it's almost abstractish. Is that a word? Abstractish? But just having fun with it. Again, I like doing paintings. I don't like copying photographs. I don't want my painting to look like a photograph. I want it to look like a painting, a watercolor painting. And what's really neat with watercolor is that it gets a really neat effect of the granulation and stuff. And so doing that makes it look more watercolor-like. And so I'm definitely going to try always to make it look very watercolor-like. Ooh, I just sprayed it on myself. And then we can take, like, let's take some lines through this, some heavy duty paint, and you can still push things around while it's wet. And I'm not going to try to make it look like the fiery background that is in the photo. I'm just going to make it look more watercolor, like a big wash of water. And I notice here, right on her face, I happen to have a thing that I don't want there. It's going to be darker anyways, but see, this is all wet, so you can just go into things and push things around. Put some colors around, get some harder edges. I'm not getting the darks here yet because I can do hard edges with the darks, and I have to go hard edge around her face anyway, so that's for later. I'm kind of losing my drawing a little bit, but not in the face because I didn't cover that part of the face, and that's the most important. The arms, if they're off a little bit and they're moving, you know, so that's okay. I don't mind if they're off a little bit. Because your face is basically the center of interest, and then everything else around that will be, you know, secondary interest. And so let's put down here. Squint your eye too. I didn't show you the black and white, but I just squint my eyes at the picture, and I can see where my darks are and where lights are. So that's down here. It's okay to put this stuff in here, but it's basically going to be my. This is a light area. I'm going to pull out a little bit of this, I think. Her shoulder here is a little bit lighter than the background. Here it's darker, so I can do that later. Here her arm is a little bit lighter, so let's wipe that out a little bit. And see how you can wipe out. You can take a thirsty brush, wipe out, and then maybe I'll put a little bit nice bright color in here too. You know, with a little bit thicker paint. And then down here we can just make that lighter too. Thirsty brushes are great. You know, I have my towel down here and I just wipe all the water out, and then I just bring it up here. And look at how it just sucks up the paint. Here on her arm over here, maybe we'll do that. And this arm is all dark, so just go over that. Don't worry about that. This arm is also darker than the background, so let's make this a little bit lighter back here. Let's get some lighter floating colors back here. And try to get some nice, beautiful watercolor washes. I mean, what's beautiful watercolor is the washes that you can get. And the sparkle, and sometimes using salt or using alcohol or whatever you want to do to make the wash the way you want to, you know, make it look more watercolor. Like I can spatter too. I can take my fingers in the water and spatter a little bit. It'll get me a little dots, little white dots. Maybe that's kind of cool. Maybe it's not. I'm not sure. That's kind of the salt technique. See, I'm getting a little texture on there. You know, it's all what you want to do. It's basically what do you want to do to make your painting look like, you know, like a good, neat watercolor. Down here, I'm going to put some of the darks in right away too, because I want them soft edge. So let's go with some of that in here right away. And it's really wet right now. Everything's really wet. So have fun with the washes. And what more fun is there to do a wash like this heavy? It's very abstract, you know. You just go in there and just load in a bunch of paint and see what happens. You know, what can you get to make it look really cool? Not as in temperature, but as in that's very neat. Here, I put a little bit of the dark in here right away. Soft edges, nice and thick, and let's just get some texture into her dress. Has these really neat lines in there, so you can get some of those in right now. Like, I'm not gonna make the dress look exactly like it is, you know, with the, it seems almost like this is some kind of plastic dress, or they put an image into Photoshop and made it look kind of interesting because it doesn't really actually, it looks like a plastic dress. Looks like they poured paint over her or something. And let's get some of these nice light blues in here. See, while it's wet, if you put them in while it's wet, then it kind of floats on top and gives you these neat kind of washes. And also spattering helps it, you know, just kind of spread out. Some really light blues over here. And then our hip right here, there's a lot of light blues, so I'm using my Horizon Blue, which is has a lot of white in it. Look, I got her face all kind of scrunched up there. That's all right. It's got dirtiness on her face, but it's gonna be dark anyway, so. And that's gonna be, you know, that's gonna be the tough part because you have to know your drawing and hopefully your drawing is right on. You know, make sure your drawing is really good when you're doing a portrait. And I'll spend a little bit more time on that because I want that to look really good. So here, let's get some really nice. Look at what the blue did. Isn't that neat how it just kind of goes all around here? Here we go, a little bit of that. I mean, this is fun. This is the kind of painting I love to do. I love, you know, when you're doing the bands or doing these dancers and stuff to make it all blurry and that's fun. And the more water's on there, the more it's going to blend away. So, you know, sometimes you may have to go back in while it's almost dry and put a little extra, you know, a little extra spatter or whatever. Ow. Get enough water on your brush, otherwise you hurt your fingers when you hit it on against your fingers. Right, let's get a little bit more dark, a few more darks. I know that you can get them later, but while it's wet, I want to get some of these darks in here and just really have it looking pretty cool. Like soft edge darks. The hard edge darks, they'll be easy. That you just put right in there. That's no big deal. If you have questions, let me know. Here I'm putting some of these darks in here right now too because I want to get a little bit of this those to be soft edge and moving looking like. If you make them hard edge, it doesn't look like it's moving. You know, movement is done by making it look soft edge, blurry. And her arm will be light, so I gotta keep the light going. Also, too, make sure that you get all the colors that you want. Get all those in there, because that's done. Then you know you don't want to go back into an area and put lights back in. Just get your lights done in the beginning and get in, get out. Make them fresh, colorful. Let's spatter some white and yellow. A lot of paint in there. Let's tap it on another brush instead of my hand. Oh, this is so much fun. It's almost like I don't want to stop. If you want to keep on doing it, this is fun. It's like working in a puddle of water, and then just playing with dirt, colored dirt. You know, you're like a kid playing in a puddle of water. And then you just hope that it dries nice. You know, you hope that it's got a really cool look to it. And then, like I said, you can also rub things out, and so that's kind of fun. All right, so I think I'm looking up at the screen. I wonder how you pronounce your name. Simbana? Simbin? Simbin? Simbana? Simbin? Simbana? Hey, from Belgium. Sim, I guess you call yourself Sim. Hey, Sim. All right. I do like this. I do kind of like the movement of the colors and stuff through it. It looks very, almost like oil paint that was dripped on her. You get that bit of thing, but this is fun. This is a lot of fun to just have a abstract background, and then you apply her into the background. We used to do that in our school. We used to take and do a really abstract background, and then make something out of it. Now here I know what I'm going to do, so it's not that same thing, but all right. So let's just go into her face now. I mean, this is going to have to dry to get some stuff happening here. Let me wet some of these edges so they're not hard. A couple edges in here. I see they're drying faster than other parts. So let's just go now, and I'm just going to start in her hair up here and work my way down. This is too wet to work on her dress, but her face I left dry, so now I can just pretty much go start it with the hair. I'm going to go really dark, and I'm just going to start back here. And I'm using my small brush, and so basically I already have all my large mediums and darks, like my BeckerArt 3 steps. It's a little bit different today because it's not a landscape, it's more of a portrait. It's like a still life. Portraits and still lifes are a little bit different sometimes because the background sometimes is darker or lighter depending on what's like. This is a little bit of lights behind it, but it's a little bit different way of working. And so I'm gonna start up here and just kind of go around and just do the detail now, even though I'm almost on step 3 really quickly, right? Because my background and everything is pretty much done. My lights are done, my middle tones, my large darks are done. So now it's just all detail. The detail of our bigger parts are our arm and stuff, but I can't work that right now because it's all wet. So I want to get some hard edges in there. So I'm just gonna start up here and just start drawing. And basically when you're doing a portrait, it's painting and drawing at the same time, because my drawing is hopefully good when I penciled it in, and then I go in and I'm going a little bit slower. I still try to get large areas of wet into wet. The hair here is wet into wet. I'm just going to try to get that done in one wash, and so I'm going in getting my lights and darks and detailed darks right away all at once. So I'll put a little bit more of the lighter part in there, like her light parts of her hair. And they're reflecting some lights. And if I do it on dry, then I wet it as I go along. That way I can have some parts dry, some parts hard edged, some parts wet, soft edged. And if I need to rub out, like I noticed my drawing, I want to give her more hair right here, and I went into that area. I'm just going to rub it a little bit. Look at that. I can just rub it, blot it, take a thirsty brush, blot it out. And then also maybe just put some light color in there too. It's okay to put opaque colors in your work. Not if you're submitting to like TWSA, but Transparent Watercolor Society, but for just making a picture look really good. And if you lose some of the white or you didn't put masking fluid down, just use white paint. Just get in there and just plop it in and you'll be fine. So I'm going down here. I'm just going to get darker. And I don't just use black. I use all kinds of colors because there's all kinds of colors reflecting into her flesh tone and into her hair too. It's like a bunch of things that are reflecting all over. And you can also keep things soft edged and also out of focus. Like I always tell you, if you keep things out of focus, that's kind of good because then it just falls and you don't have to explain everything about that soft edge. Now I do have to wet her face farther ahead, and so I just got to do this slowly. It's going to be soft edged, but I need the hard edges on the outer edge here. And so I'm wetting parts slowly but surely. Maybe that's her name, Shirley. I gotta watch out that I don't go over like parts of her face that have light in them. Like right here, I just went over that. That's gonna be light. So I'm wetting it, and then I apply paint into that wash. And my drawing is still there, so I can see pretty much everything that has to be done. And then her chin is lit up right here. And then her cheek, let's put some beautiful red, warm color in there. And her cheek, always warm colors on the cheeks. Blood is rushing to the skin. You know, as I'm going slower, you know, I have to, this is a little bit more important. This is your center of interest, so I'm not going to rush through this. This has to be done correctly. Got to get in there. And if you don't see the drawing, redraw it. Don't, I can pretty much draw with my paintbrush, so I can just kind of see what's happening and then just draw that. And I can also rub out, you know, it's okay to rub out even on this board. So if I miss something, I can rub it back out. Or if I made something too dark, and I can just rub it back out again. But the trick is to keep things wet, so that you can get those nice soft edges. And so I always start, even these big areas like this, I start middle tone, and then I go to my dark, just like I do my 3-step. You know, I go first with the middle tone or lights, then middle tones and darks, and the same thing here. I'm going with my middle tones, and I'm wetting with my middle tone. And this part I should have left alone. So now I gotta really get in there, and so I'm using all my dark colors. And where it's the darkest, I have to make sure I put enough paint so it doesn't bleed all over. Let's see how good we can do this. And this is good to have some life drawing in your lessons. I mean, it is always good to have life drawing lessons. It teaches you how to, you know, see the planes of the face and how they turn and all that kind of thing. And so, and the drawing. Underneath the nose is dark. And you notice I'm working all wet in the wet, and so it's going to be really wet. So if I want that pigment to stop and not go to a certain part, I need a lot of paint because I wet it, you know. So, and then her lips, I'll give her some lipstick, some red on them first. And there's only a little bit showing that's not dark. That and those little hits of light really identify shapes, like underneath her chin, edge right here. And it is a middle tone right now. This red is a middle tone, so I can then still get darker. Look at how dark her neck is. You know, let's get in there with her neck and just make that really dark. And so it is a little bit, you know, tougher to do because drawing is very important. So you got to make sure you know how to draw a face and see the lights and darks, and then also how to control the watercolors so parts are soft and parts are hard. You know, learning how to work wet in the wet, but making it so that the paint just bleeds a certain distance. You know, the thicker the paint, the less it's going to bleed, right? The thicker the paint. And then I just use, for really dark colors, I just use black with a little bit of color in it. You know, just don't be afraid of using black paint to make it really dark. And if you need it colorful, put some color into the dark black. I use peach black, which is more of a warm black anyways, and so I'll use a little bit of purple with it, blue back here. underneath her chin it's lit up right from the back here, so that's not dark. And then underneath her lip is a dark. And so use small brush too. You don't need a big brush for this. You need to be able to get the edges. It goes up here to dark. And this is all still wet, so I'm getting beautiful soft edges. You know, beautiful soft edges, and you got time then too, if it's wet. And again, practice this. And sometimes if you don't want to do a whole painting, just practice doing a figure like this by just doing the face, do little portraits. And her upper lip is dark, and then the side here. Her eyebrows are really dark right here. Underneath her eye. Underneath her eyelashes. Her eyelashes are really big. She's got big, huge eyelashes, so I'm just going to put that in there first. And right here, her top lip is really dark, so let's make that a nice dark red, like a alizarin. And her nose goes up to, this is her eyelashes. She's got some eyelashes going out here. And just kind of, oh boy, I got to get really tight right here. So I'm using really small brush strokes. Let's see how she's pulling out from the background. Background is nice and washy. Now she's very detailed, and that's okay because that's what we want. We want detail there. And you do have to hurry, like working it. You have to work the, you have to work the soft edges. So you got to get that done pretty quickly. Or just keep on wetting areas so that you keep it going with wetness. This part right here is a little bit darker. And I may not get the exact thing because I'm kind of far away from my drawing or from the photo, and it's very small, so I'm making some of this up on my own. Just my knowledge of the anatomy of the head of a portrait, because I can't really see how small it is, and you're looking at this and on a screen, and I can barely see what's going on in here. But my knowledge of doing enough portraits and doing many drawings from my imagination when I was an illustrator, it helps you to know how to make the lips and how to make your ear, and so it may not be the ear that I'm seeing on this image, but it's an ear, basically. Yeah, being an illustrator for all those years really helped out when it came to drawing, because I had to draw everything from my imagination. And I was actually looking, I've been looking for my book. I wrote the book on how to work from your imagination. I'm going to have Maria here, who's online. Hey, Maria. She's going to help me out to see if this works, this book. And I cannot find my written file on my computer. So I went to 3 different computers now. I was searching all day yesterday. And also, if anybody knows, I was looking also yesterday for, there's a sketchbook, I think it's made by Strathmore, that has both sketching paper in it and watercolor paper in it. I know I've seen it. I think it's Strathmore makes it, but I could not find it. I also spent all day yesterday on the computer looking for things, and I couldn't find that. I couldn't find that sketch pad either. It's a great sketch pad, and I want Legion to make one like that, and so I want to see how their quality is. But it's a piece of paper, a drawing paper, and also in the same sketchbook is also a watercolor piece of paper, so you can do sketching and things. And so I kind of want them to make one, excuse me, for me with the Stonehenge paper and the Stonehenge white paper. So I'll put highlights on here later. You know, now right now it's kind of, I'm just letting it be wet and it's floating pigment. So you can also rub out too and re-wet areas. And if you feel like you need more color in there, I'm gonna put more red in there. And the shadow and the darkness in her lip, maybe identify her bottom or the bottom lip a little bit more. Yeah, I was searching, and if you search for sketchbook with watercolor paper and drawing paper in the same book, it just comes up with all kinds of mixed media paper because it wants you to, you know, use a mixed media paper so that you have both in one. But no, I want the one where the sketch paper, then followed by a piece of drawing paper, followed by watercolor paper. I've seen it before, and it's really cool. And I think it's Strathmore, but I'm not quite certain. So if you guys know of it, please let me know what that is, which paper that is. Thanks, Darcy. This is not brave. You can do this. Anybody can do this. It's just a drawing. A little bit of drawing is a little bit tougher because it is a portrait almost. You know, it's a small portrait, so let's get our upper lip here just a little bit, not quite as light. Look at the beautiful forehead she has here. Is beautiful red on there. Right on her forehead, it gets kind of dark here. And so pre-wet this again. Bring that right down. And make her hair. I'm going to give her an earring later, but I'm going to rub it out, or I'll put it in with white paint. And so now let's go into her dress. And first I'm going to get the shadow on her dress here. There's a shadow from her neck. And then her chest, we're going to put that in there and make it nice and dark, connected with her arm. This is fun, and you know. Now her face is pretty close to done, but I noticed that I didn't get enough, like, a little bit, I want a little bit of warmth in her cheek. A little bit of warmth, so I'm putting, still wet, it's still wet, so I can put that in there. And also you can put it in thicker. It doesn't matter if you kind of rub it in too. It's fine. It's a small area, so it's not going to be able to be floating it that much anyways. And so you can just... All right, let's do her dress. Let's do her the bottom of her, and let's start with her arm. Let's just go this way across. And if you want to do like the background again and make it darker, you can do that too. I may do that later on. And I'm going to get some of this light blue in her hair because I need to have some of this color up here. So let's just, like it's reflected in the sky or in the top of her head, like it's hitting up there. Now let's get her shoulder a little bit different from the background. And so let's go for a real nice dark here again. And so let's start with the side of her dress here is around her arm. Her arm is light in the one part, but it is dark right here, so I'm going to wet that. I always like to wet first and then put the paint into it. That's always a fun thing to do. And so you can just go in there and it's like it's nice soft edged. Go really dark. And again, when you're going really dark, don't be afraid of using black. It's okay. You can just mix a color to the black and it will become a colorful black. I know many teachers teach you to mix your blacks with all the dark colors, which is fine. You can do that too. I think it's easier for my students, and I know my students find it easier to just take black and mix color into the black. And so now we're just going to go up here, and do you want the soft or hard edge? It doesn't matter. It can be all hard edge now. Because I'm, you know, the background was nice and colorful and soft edged here and there, and so now I can make inside here. I can, once it's wet, I can then again make the inside look kind of fun and do the same thing with a really cool wash inside the dress and make it soft edge inside the dress. And some parts can be out of focus, and so that it looks like it's moving. You know, that's one thing, nice thing about doing something like this is if she's dancing, she's moving, and so you're going to see some things where they're going to be out of focus, right? And so don't be afraid of letting things be out of focus or soft edge like this, or even put little lines to make it look like it's moving. You know, I just put in lines like this and let some of it be, like, let it move. And this should be darker, a lot darker. Let's just put some dark in here, and I'll put some color in that afterwards. You know, just put it dark really right away, and then I'll put color into that. Nothing wrong with putting color into a dark color. It just works really well. And this arm has a bunch of, on the edges, has a bunch of colors. Look at this. It'll be reflecting all these colors and stuff. So let's get some red in there, some blue. Let's put it on the edges and let some of that reflect. And this is a really cool dress because it has lines going up like this. And so and try to get in and out, and try never go back into an area then once it's wet in the wet. Just kind of get it done and leave it. You know, once you get the color in there and all the nice floatiness happening, then get out. Then just leave it, let it do its thing. And then this goes right down to the bottom here. See how I'm doing detailed darks, even though they're big detailed darks. So it's like, you know, it's not exactly the way I have the BeckerArt 3-step, but it's close. It's close. Because you don't have to follow it to a T. The fact that, you know, sometimes you do the darks or the details in the beginning with the big wash of dark, or with a wash of light. I like this blue here, just reflecting off of here and there. There's a lot of orange underneath her arm right here, but I happen to have a light blue there, so let's just go with the light blue and make it a darker blue. I'm kind of jumping around now, which I shouldn't do that either. You should kind of get an area and work our way across and get it done, but I just had this in my brush, and so I thought, let's just try a little bit of this. It's not totally bad that you jump around, but just remember, you want to try to make things look like all together. This whole painting should be together, looking good, not just pieces. You don't paint pieces, you paint big areas. So let's let her whole chest here, and so what we're going to do is wet it so we get soft edges. I'm going to wet it here a little bit. That way I get soft edges, except for the outer part. I don't care about the outer part. That can be hard edged. And she looks like she has some kind of belt or something on, or I'm not sure how that dress is. I think they was manipulated in Photoshop somehow. There's something about this dress, but I can just fake it myself and do whatever I want. Any questions, guys? You guys are very quiet. Ask away. And I'm thinking I'm going to make this part of the background darker. I'm going to re-wet that and make the background a little bit darker. So now let's just get the edge here. And then inside this dark wash, you're going to put other kinds of, you're still going to make it look not just solid. You know, it's nice to have a little bit of stuff happening in here too. And I forgot the shadow here, so I might as well wet that too. Get the shadow from her neck down this way a little bit. Darks. This is no different from doing other paintings, and you should notice that I'm still doing, you know, lights to darks and It's just the drawing is a little bit more important because when you're drawing a figure, if you're off a little bit, it definitely shows a little bit more. So just work your drawing. Work your drawing, make sure you get a really nice drawing out of it. Blue in here. And don't feel that you cannot do something like this. You know, have a positive attitude. Just go into it. You don't have to worry if it doesn't work out, but you can give it a try. You know, always try. You never know. This may be the thing that you want to do as dancers, and you don't have to be right on, especially when they're moving. You know, so try whatever you want to do. Maria's trying to do the drawing. Yeah, well, the drawing is important, so spend time on it because the watercolor part isn't that hard. It's just the drawing is the most important thing about a painting. It's number one, and you always hear me talking about that because it is important. It's so much so that this next week I'm going to show you how to trace also properly too, because even if you're tracing stuff, I see people tracing stuff they're tracing bad things that don't need to be traced. And so even tracing there's a way of tracing and making it look better. And so I'll be showing that in the next newsletter this coming week. So if you don't get my newsletter, sign up for it, or just go to my website and I archive all of them. There's one button where it shows the archived parts of the newsletter that are archived. Let's put some light in here. I'll put a really bright red along the edge here, just to seem like reflected light coming from this side. And I want to make this really dark. This is like really dark down here. Now parts of her face should be darker. I just noticed it's almost a little bit too. I like how dark she is. You know, with the almost black some of the parts, and to get that contrast is really cool. And the bottom lip I've got made kind of too much, coming too forward. Those are all small little things that you can, you can do that as detail stage. Now I got her dress right here, go dark, and just make this all dark. You can also do it not so colorful. I mean, you can do this where it's more of a black and white type of thing, because that's, if you don't feel like you want to learn how to just do a two color, it really helps you when it comes to having to. This is hard sometimes, taking this much color in there and trying to make it work. Where sometimes if you just take two colors, maybe, or even just black and white, and making it black and white, that way you can learn how to use the medium correctly before you start thinking about color. Because it is hard. I mean, getting this much color, making the color also work, it's a tough thing sometimes. So if I want to go into the background, let's say I want to make this a little bit darker, all I have to do, and I shouldn't have wet that right now, for one. I would just pre-wet that area, but I don't want to wet it right now because then I would make this part soft edge, and I want to keep that a little bit harder edged. And this looks all good. I like this all. I like her arm here. Work on her face a little bit. Again, because it's the most important part, so I want to make sure that everything on the face looks really good. Pre-wet it. I kind of wet it again. Make it a little bit darker. I forgot I've got to do the earring too. Let's see. This part between your eye and here is a little bit darker. And then I'll soften it. You can also soften things. Here I got to rub out because I kind of got rid of some of this, and this could be a light blue. Light blue. And then her ear, I want to make it come out a little bit farther forward, and so I can use that blue. Since I suggested the blue in the hair, then you can also do other parts too. And suggest the same thing, that it's catching light then. And actually some of it I just want to bleed away too, so you don't see exactly. Let's get some really dark. And right here. Okay. If you ever see something that you think I missed, please let me know. I don't like this in here. So it's like I can re-wet, and I was going to do a stencil, wasn't I? Yeah, let's do a stencil in there. But first let me wet it really quickly, and this seemed to get a little bit too light for me. I like to have a couple of darks in here, and so I'm going to pre-wet this area. And nothing happens if you just wet an area, you know, just wet it with water and just really lightly go over it. Then gives you another chance to do another wash on top of it, wet in the wet, right? So we can do that a little bit. Let's put a little bit of blue up here. Make a little bit opposite to what I've got there. Bring that up here. See how it's just floating? I can just float it, get soft edged. Now I lost my little spattering. I can put that back in there if I want. I can put that back in. There's some hard edges. So I didn't wet that part right there, so you get hard edges, or you can just wet it right afterwards. So you just put a little bit of extra little oomph in there. I kind of want, I like this blue that I got going through here. I'm going to put a little bit of this blue. It's going to kind of give this arm, it just seems too, I like this arm, how it's just moving. Everything's moving now. And I want to make this side move a little bit more. This seems a little bland. So let's just kind of keep it a little messier. I want it to move. Don't be afraid of going into an area after you get done. It's fine. You know, there's people are very afraid, and it's nicer to keep it fresh, of course. But there's times when if you re-wet it, it looks like it's the first wash. Like if I re-wet this area, make it wet, and then just put a little bit of light in there to, you know, push it around a little bit. It's fine. Getting some parts soft edge so that not everything is hard edge. Everything hard edge, and then you don't have the movement. A little bit of color in here too. Soften some of those edges. I love lost edges like this, where it's where you lose it. You know, that really makes it look like it's moving. Let's take a little bit of spatter here. All right. I think we're almost an hour into it, and that should be about it, huh, guys? Oh, his earring. So, what kind of earring do I put on her? Just a little dangling earring. So I'm gonna rub out. Try to rub out as much as I can, and then what I'll do is I'll put white paint on top of that if I need to. So a little dangling earring. See, I'm using a thirsty brush, rubbing a little bit with water, and take the thirsty brush and let it pull back out. Let's get her hair a little messier right here. I kind of like that where it just... And I'm going to make really really dark eyelashes, so I'm taking black with my rigger brush. Just use black. I'm just going to give her a few eyelashes right. Oh my god, that brush needs to be new. It's not giving me a really fine point. I must have used this thing too much. Look at that. Look at the edge of this brush. You know, they do wear down. This edge of brush is not pointy at all. They got a bunch of hairs. All right, so let's use another brush for that. I use my brushes a lot, so sometimes I have to rebuy. You know, brushes wear out, even the best of them. So what did I say I was going to do? Okay, the eyelashes. And her right here. Oh, let's see that. Now, this is a fine point. I can just do a couple of eyelashes here. Just work it a little bit. Her eyelashes come out. Up here a little bit. All right, I think she's done. I can't see anything else. I would sign it here. I would wax it, sign it, and it is 11 by 14. Again, it's a panel, so I can put it right into a frame. I would just have to wax it a little bit, and oh, I was going to stencil it, wasn't I? Oh, let me think. So I was thinking maybe this stencil in the background, but do I really want to do that? I kind of like my background. I think we're going to do a stencil some other day. I think we don't need one, and this is so wild already. I don't think we actually need a stencil for this one. Again, you can do it. I mean, try it. Stencils are fun. Soften these edges a little bit right here. Let me put some white in here. I think it'd be kind of neat to put some little dabs of white. Little highlights. Maybe a pink highlight on her top lip here. See, just a small little highlight. It's amazing what a small highlight will do. Oh, I said I was going to do that for her earring too, wasn't I? Little highlight. A little bit on her shoulder here. Her shoulder seems kind of small. Let's bring this out a little bit. I gotta stop. Somebody stop me. Somebody stop me. Okay, let's stop. That was fun. That was a lot of fun. All right, guys. See you hopefully on Thursday. This Thursday, I don't have a demonstration like this. Last Thursday, I had a demonstration, so I couldn't do the paint along. I did it on Wednesday. But this week, it's going to be on Thursday. I have no idea what it's going to be yet. I'll figure that out tomorrow. And on Tuesday, you'll definitely know. I always let people know on Tuesday what we're painting on Thursday. And that's a paint along. This is not so much a paint along. This is just you watching me, and you can try it. You know, definitely, if you want, go ahead and try it. And till Thursday. Cheers, everybody. Thanks a lot. Have a great rest of the Sunday, and we'll see you on Thursday. Bye-bye. Where's my thing? See you later.